everybody. Welcome. I hope you are doing as well as I am. Hi, it is Leader to Leader, brought to you by LEAD Brevard. I'm Geo Ropert, class of 2001, the best class ever. And I'm going to be your host of Ropert and Partners Public Relations. If I didn't say that, I know I didn't, because I just did. And it's great to have you here today. A rainy day in Florida, but the sun is shining here in my office, at least, or at least the stage lighting is pretty bright, so that'll make it happen. I'm so glad you got an opportunity to join us today. We're going to be doing a unique kind of a call because we had a little problem with the transmission here. So our guest today can hear me only through his phone, but I can hear him fine. So we're going to get a pretty good interview going on here. Hey, Leader to Leader. This is the show that happens every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 12:15 right here on the LEAD Brevard Facebook page. It's an opportunity for LEAD Brevard to bring on our fellow graduates of the Leadership Brevard program who have done so much for our community. These are really truly the leaders of Brevard County. They're the ones that make this a great place to live, work, and play. And my guest coming up today is really one of the stars, and he's been doing so much, and I'm really honored to have him with us today. Hey, if you are a Leadership Brevard graduate and you're interested in being on the show, let us know. You can contact Kristen Bakke over at LEAD Brevard. You know how to get a hold of her. And also, if you're interested in sponsoring the show, we are looking for sponsors. We do this, as I said, 3 days a week, and we've got it scheduled out through June and July. We've got some traction here, and so we're getting a lot of folks viewing it, not only while it's running, but they'll check the show out afterwards. And so your chance to get brand exposure, recognition, and support a very worthy show, this one. So, hey, it's a big day today for LEAD Brevard. We're going to graduate the class of 2020. And so they're going to be doing it's going to be like everybody else. It's going to be a virtual event where normally we would celebrate that in a big room and have dinner and all that fun stuff. It's going to be virtual. So I'm looking forward to seeing that class get their diplomas and become part of the Leadership Brevard group. And I tell you what, the over 1,200 of us that have been through this program. So it's a great day. I think this is Kristen Bakke's 20th class. So she has been doing this. She started back in 2000 when I started, and mine was the first class that she led. And so she's had an illustrious career. We love her. She's done so much. She's such a great community asset. And so we'll be celebrating her, I'm sure, as well as the class of 2000. So good times today for everybody. I want to welcome our guest today. This gentleman, you know him. You have seen him around. If there is something going on in our community, he's probably had a hand in it. Neal Johnson is joining me today. Neal is a 1996 Leadership Brevard graduate. He was also the 2000 chair of the LEAD Brevard board. So that's where I first met him. So Neal, 20 years we've known each other now. Pretty crazy.
That is pretty weird.
I'm telling you, senior mortgage loan officer at U.S. Bank. He was the chair of the Economic Development Commission of Florida Space Coast in 2005 and is still a very, very active investor. He is a current board member and treasurer of the Melbourne Regional Chamber of Commerce. He was also chair of AMI Kids Space Coast from 2010 to 13. And one thing you didn't list here, Neal, was Commodore of the O'Galley Yacht Club.
Yeah, well, I don't always put that in there because that's more of a social thing and something that I did. It happened to occur the same time I was chair of the EDC, so that was quite an interesting and busy year.
Yeah, that was great. But I just know because whenever we go to an O'Galley Yacht Club event or an event at the yacht club, there's your picture with your Commodore. So that's something I remember about you, and many things. I've been honored to work with you and be involved in a lot of committees that you've been in, and you're one of our folks that goes up to Tallahassee with us every year when the chambers go and do their chamber day up there to advocate for our businesses. And so thank you for everything you've done, and share a little bit, if you will, about your background, Neal, and the things that you've been doing over these last 20 years, because you've had, like I said, you've had an illustrious career, both professionally and in the community.
Well, thank you for obviously for doing these these Facebook Live events. It's great for, those of us that have been in and around Brevard County for, you say 20 years, that's about half of my career. And that's because I like to tell people that's because I'm old, but
You started when you were 10.
well, yeah, right. But I actually started in the banking business around this county in 1979, and very early in my career, one of the people that I worked with basically said that if you're going to be successful in this business, you need to get involved, and being involved means you need to be involved in leadership. And so very I wouldn't say very early, because it was about 15 years after I started in the business, but a long time ago, it was suggested that I attend the Leadership Brevard class, best class, as we all say, of 1996. And I really think that was a springboard for the various opportunities that I feel that I've had to not just lead, but to be a part of what has occurred in this very diverse and dynamic community. So, one of the things I'm the most proud of is that I've had the ability to just work with some really fantastic people over the years that have really made a difference in putting us in a position that we're in now to be able to deal with challenges as we are right now. We're having a Zoom call because we can't meet together. Right. But we're handling it, and as a community, I think we're handling it very well, and that's because of organizations, and specifically organizations like LEAD Brevard, and creating those individuals that can help us work through these situations.
Yeah, you speak a common theme that I've had from all the guests who have said that LEAD Brevard really was that kind of, it was the awakening, if you will, of who our community is and what our community is, and where you can plug in and what the needs are, and then on top of that, being able to kind of hone your leadership skills. Share with me, if you will, your experience with Leadership Brevard, and how that really, because you kind of alluded to it, but if you could expound a little bit more on how that really brought you into the community.
Well, I think, and I say this a lot of times, when I went to the Leadership Brevard class, I had lived in Brevard County, specifically down in the Satellite Beach, Patrick Air Force Base area. My dad was Air Force, moved here in '66 and retired from the Air Force. But when you live somewhere that long, you kind of feel like you know the community. I've seen some things change, I've seen some growth. But when you go through a program as extensive as Leadership Brevard and really see how and why things work the way they do, you realize that you really didn't know a third of what you thought you did about this community. So what it really does is it gives you an opportunity to not just interact with the current leaders, because at the time, obviously there were a lot of people that had gone on before me and were just doing phenomenal things, but you get an opportunity to interact with them, you get an opportunity to learn from them, and you get an opportunity to see what kind of a difference you can make by following those examples. And so I think it just gives you the building blocks to then go on, and you have to choose what you want to do with it. Sure. But it gives you the tools and the building blocks to go on and do things that are helpful to our community.
That's great. Yeah, and it's such an awesome learning experience. And I always say, I lived here for probably 10, 15 years by the time I took the class, and yeah, just the eye-opening of what this community really holds, and all the treasures it has, and then all the needs it had as well. So it really does have a profound change, I think, anybody who takes the course. Neal, let me ask you, what do you feel are the traits of a leader, and explain your leadership style, if you would, please.
I'm gonna answer the second part first. I think my leadership style is collaborative. I think that what I try to do is bring together, depending on what the issue or the challenges that you're addressing, I try to bring together the right people and address that. And we're all peers. It's it's the chair of the EDC meeting with the chairs of the chambers, meeting with industry leaders, but it's collaborating with the folks in the community that that can help solve a challenge. And I guess I'll use it as an example. Back in 2005, when I was chair of the EDC, we were going through a base closure through the military, and we had an effort to be sure that Patrick Air Force Base was not on that list. It was not, but No. 2 Naval Ordnance Test Unit was. And we were able to get that group of people that we had together from the EDC, from the chairs, from industry, changed it, and that was a less than a 10% chance of happening. So, and I think that's an example of collaborative leadership, and I think that's my style. What does it mean to me? It means identifying and addressing the opportunities and the challenges that the community faces. And I work with a lot of people that are in the same business that I'm in, and day to day we compete, but when it comes to addressing issues and challenges, we're right there together, shoulder to shoulder, working to make this a better place, as you say, to live, work, and play.
Yeah. And I remember back at the base closings when we were all fighting that, and you were there leading the charge. And I remember the several times that we got together, several people to have a voice and all the things that we did. And I think without the work that you and the EDC did, especially with Linda and everyone else, we would not be as fortunate as we are. And so I know Go ahead.
Yeah, I just had the opportunity and the privilege to be the chair. There was a lot of people that drove that. Randy Harris, our good friend, was chair of the Space Coast Defense Alliance at the time, and that committee really took that project on. I just was I had the privilege and the honor to be the chair during that time and really enjoy some success. Yeah,
it was great times, and those are the things that kind of make Brevard. If you look back on it, there were some very key moments the seminal moments, if you will, that have led us to where we are today, to the success that we've had, and even though we are seeing the changes in the way that we have to do things due to this pandemic, I think Brevard is especially positioned well for recovery because of the diversity that we've been able to establish here in both our industries and our tourism, and the people here that make it up. It's just really phenomenal to know who we are and where we've come from. Neal, can you
100% agree?
Pardon me, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I was just going to say 100% agree.
All right. Hey, and we're all doing it right now. Can you let me know some of the things you've had to kind of adjust to as far as your working environment and how you're adapting your leadership skills with the folks you're working with your team, with your customers during this time?
Well, I think, especially for me and the folks that I work directly with, it's a very, I would say, social business. We interact with people a lot of times face to face on a very regular basis. And I think that's been the biggest challenge for me. I've continued to be busy. I'm very blessed that business has stayed good during this period of time, but I've also missed the interaction with people. Going to closings, seeing the excitement on people's faces when they get their new house. We don't get to do that as readily. So, I think trying to utilize the technology as much as we can, and as things improve, try to bring as much of that back in as we can, because, and maybe it's because of my age, but, I think face-to-face is still the best way to do business. And so, what I've tried to do is utilize the technology as much as possible, be cognizant of the guidelines that we have to work with now, but, as things open up, try to get that socialization back in, because I think it's important. It's important for us personally and professionally.
Absolutely true. Truer words never spoken. And I do appreciate that insight. And it is. It's tough, especially for those of us who really kind of thrive on on being out in the community and being active, and having some place to go that you can actually put pants on and venture out. It's we were talking with
exactly
Milo Zonka yesterday, and it was or the day before, and just all the things that we've had to kind of adapt to. But I think we're going to make it. I think it's going to be okay. I'm glad to hear your business is going well. I know there are people, I think we tend to look at sometimes the negative of how many unemployed and how many this and that, but then we turn around and we go, okay, 80% of people are still employed or they're doing okay and they're helping to keep the economy moving and helping to keep our spirits up. So I definitely appreciate you being here today and taking the time to join me. Thank you so much. And I wish you well as this all goes on. And I'm sure sooner or later we're all going to get let out and be able to meet up sometime. And if we can't shake hands, at least do fist bumps.
I look forward to it, and I appreciate you and Leadership Brevard, LEAD Brevard. I'm an old guy, so I still call it the old name. But and by the way, I did want to tell you, I am also very proud. I hired Kristen. I was chair when she got here, so that is another proud moment in my career. But thanks for all you guys are doing and keeping us engaged. And you certainly know where I am if there's anything I can do.
Thank you very much, Neal. Appreciate it. Neal Johnson with us today, folks. Just a great guy and one of our true community treasures. And so I've really enjoyed speaking with him today. You've been watching Leader to Leader, brought to you by LEAD Brevard. And yes, the folks like us who have been around forever, it was Leadership Brevard when we first were around. Now it is LEAD Brevard, and Leadership Brevard is a program within the organization. So many others too. If you're looking for an opportunity to expand your leadership skills and knowledge and then put those into practice in our community, look up LEAD Brevard, find out more about it. You can do that by visiting leadbrevard.org, or you can call 321-632-8222, and they will be able to direct you to the program that's going to be best for you. Don't forget, we do this program, Leader to Leader, every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Time. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor of the show, please let us know. You can message us on Facebook. You can call LEAD Brevard or visit their website and get more information and check that out. So we're going to call it a week here. I guess it's our Thursday. This is our Friday, a Thursday edition of Leader to Leader. I am Geo Ropert from Ropert and Partners Public Relations. If you need our help with branding, messaging, getting your business out there, making you famous, that's what we do. You can visit Ropert and the word and partners.com. That's ropertandpartners.com, and we'll be happy to help. Have yourself a great day, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, Neal. Great to have you, my friend. I'll see you later.
Bye. Yep, bye.